In late 2019, Adobe started something called the Content Authenticity Initiative in response to the problems of mis and disinformation, and also in recognition that Adobe, which makes a lot of very powerful software tools that for the most part are used for creative or educational purposes, sometimes are used by bad actors to spread and foment mis and disinformation. And so we felt it was important to take on a leadership role to try and address that issue, if you like. And so the dialectic is that on the one hand you have all of this sophisticated image manipulation technology that Adobe makes and that others make, and on the other hand you have the opportunity to bring some transparency to those things. And I think those things are, not at all mutually exclusive. And so the Content Authenticity Initiative is really about adding layers of transparency to digital content, whether it be still image, video, audio, and other formats, to help viewers understand where a piece of content came from, on what device it was created, and additional information that might be available about the time, date, location, identity of the creator, perhaps. And then following that piece of content through the editing process and understanding what changes are made during the editing process. So if you like, creating a digital chain of custody or an edit history of the image in question or the file in question, and then maintaining that information through the publishing process and through the use of a universal icon or pin, if you like, allowing the viewer to get some insight into where something came from and how it might have been modified along its journey from creation through editing and onto publication. So that's what we're doing. We're doing that through a combination of secure metadata, fingerprinting, which is linking metadata to images using image recognition software, and invisible watermarking, which allows us to maintain the origins or the provenance of digital files regardless of where those files go. So one way to think about it is that it is a digital nutrition label. And in the same way you would go to a supermarket and buy a can of beans, and on the nutrition label you'd be able to see what's in the can and calories or sodium or whatever it might be. In this case, you'll be able to see what's in the digital content, where did it come from, how is it modified, etc. So that's the work that we're doing. The Content Authenticity Initiative is now a community of almost 2,000 members, including most major media organizations, many big technology organizations, both hardware and software. And we're working with camera manufacturers and smartphone manufacturers to get this technology embedded into those devices at production, meaning in the not too distant future when you buy a piece of hardware, it'll come out of the box with this technology on it, and you as the user can choose to turn it on or off depending on what the default setting is. We're also incorporating this technology into editing software, not just Adobe, because this is an open source project, and so all of the underlying technology is out there for people to use. And in the editing side of things, we're able to capture what changes were made to a file and keep a record of those changes. And we're also working with the publishing sector and the social media sector to implement this, to add this layer of transparency to content so people can understand what they're looking at. And all of this technology is based on a technical standard that Adobe, together with the likes of Microsoft and Intel and ARM and the BBC and others, have developed within the Linux Foundation. So the Linux Foundation is the sort of preeminent open source organization in the world, and we've created what's called a Joint Development Foundation project within the Linux Foundation called the C2PA. C2PA stands for the Coalition for Content Provenance and Authenticity. So the C2PA technical standard is the basis for all of the open source tooling that the Content Authenticity Initiative is creating, which rests on GitHub for developers to implement and experiment with, and which is also being incorporated into Adobe software. And what we think is that over time, this notion of provenance, or understanding the origins and makeup of digital files will become so ubiquitous across a wide variety of use cases. So we're focused right now on photojournalism and generative AI, but we've gotten interest from the advertising world, the insurance industry, the law enforcement industry, the satellite industry, the medical and scientific imagery community. Because when you think about it, we take great leaps of faith every day when we look at content based on context or our trust of a brand or whatever it is, but we have very little empirical evidence because metadata, which is the sort of underlying contextual information for digital files, in its current form is very brittle and easy to hack into and easy to strip off. So our methodology for all of what I've described before really involves the use of secure metadata together with image fingerprinting and invisible watermarking. And we think that over time, provenance will become something foundational to a great many things digital. And we can imagine a world where every image or video or piece of content that you see online will have some provenance information attached to it to, facilitate transparency and understanding.